There is something quietly devastating in the way addiction enters a life. It does not always announce itself. It is not always a syringe or a bottle. Sometimes it is the 9th scroll through Instagram in a single minute. Sometimes it is the gnawing need for a text message to feel okay. Sometimes it is one more episode, then another, then an entire season, until the numbness begins to feel normal. And then one day it doesn't. You are no longer chasing a high. You are fleeing a low. And the most frightening part is that most of us cannot name the source of that emptiness. If you were to ask Carl Jung how to treat addiction, he would not begin with detox. He would not even focus on the behavior. He would ask about your soul. For Jung believed addiction was never the true problem, only a symptom of a deeper spiritual dislocation. We live in a world starved of meaning and saturated with stimulus. Our minds are locked in a futile loop, perpetually seeking relief. Dopamine, that chemical messenger of motivation and reward, is dwindling, not merely because of what we consume, but because of what we have lost. Connection to the self, not the ego, not the persona, not the job title, but the deepest, most authentic version of who you are. The part of you rooted in purpose, creativity, and meaning. To Jung, addiction was a spiritual thirst, a cry from the unconscious, not merely for relief, but for wholeness. He wrote, "Every form of addiction is bad, no matter whether the narcotic be alcohol, or morphine, or idealism." What he meant was this: the root is not the substance, it is the emptiness. And this is where modern approaches fall tragically short. We treat the habit, but we do not meet the human. We patch the leak, but ignore the fractured foundation. Jung believed that true healing begins only when we courageously turn inward, toward the shadowed parts of ourselves we have buried, the parts we judge, the parts we fear, the parts that plead not for silence, but for integration. If that feels overwhelming, you are not alone. But here's the truth. The shadow is not evil. It is repressed energy. And paradoxically, it is where your healing resides. And Jung did not leave us with only theories. He left a map, a psychological and spiritual toolkit for reintegrating what has been lost. Tools that help us understand why the dopamine has vanished and how to live in alignment with purpose, not pleasure. We will explore those tools, practical, spiritual, immediate. So stay until the end. What you will discover is not only how to treat addiction, but how to finally understand the part of you that has been calling out through it. If addiction is the symptom and not the cause, what lies beneath? Let us speak of dopamine not as a buzzword, but as a messenger. It is not merely the feel-good chemical. It is the drive behind every action that makes us feel alive. Motivation, anticipation, reward, the ping of a notification, the sweetness of dessert, the warmth of a text that says, "Thinking of you." When dopamine runs low, life turns grey, uninspired, flat, and the craving begins. But this depletion does not start with Netflix or fast food. It begins much earlier, in emotional suppression, in environments where authenticity came at a cost, where you learned to be the good child, the strong one, the fixer. You pushed your needs aside to survive, and in doing so, you disconnected from yourself. Jung called this psychic splitting. You buried the parts of yourself that were not welcome and constructed a mask instead. And what does the mind do with such chronic disconnection? It seeks relief. Some find it in a bottle, others in a screen or a person. But it is never about the thing. It is about the feeling they are trying to recreate, a spark of meaning, a sense of being enough, if only for a moment. And so, we become trapped, not in addiction, but in a loop. Inner emptiness begets dopamine crash, which begets escape, which begets shame, which deepens the emptiness. Jung understood that breaking this cycle is not a matter of willpower, but of integration. He wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. That means turning toward the part of you that is hurting, not away from it. It means asking, what pain is this addiction trying to numb? What part of myself have I abandoned in order to cope?" This is where Jung's approach diverges radically from conventional models. He did not want you merely sober. He wanted you whole. And that wholeness begins with awareness, with seeing these patterns not as failures, but as clues, smoke signals from the unconscious, guiding you home. This is why Jung held dreams as sacred, why symbols and archetypes mattered. They are messages from the parts of ourselves we have forgotten, the child, the rebel, the healer, the wounded one, all still alive within. And until we make space for them, we will keep seeking wholeness in places never meant to provide it. But there is hope. The moment you cease to see addiction as a failure and begin to see it as a message, is the moment healing truly begins. Addiction is not who you are. It is a coping mechanism, a strategy your psyche created to protect you from a pain you were never allowed to feel. But now, you are ready. You are curious. And that changes everything. Let us explore 3 tools, practical, spiritual, and soul-nourishing, that can help you reconnect with your deeper self and reveal what lives beneath those compulsive patterns. These tools are not about fighting addiction. They are about listening to it. Tool 1. Shadow work. Jung's most revolutionary contribution was the concept of the shadow, the hidden chamber of the psyche where we store all we have rejected, denied, or judged within ourselves. Our anger, sadness, jealousy, fear, even our deepest desires for power, love, or recognition. These elements do not disappear. They descend into the unconscious and emerge through our addictions, our projections, our patterns. Shadow work is the practice of making the unconscious conscious. It is sitting with yourself and asking, what part of me have I locked away because I believed it was unacceptable? What truth am I refusing to see? Begin with journaling. Pose the question, if my addiction had a voice, what would it say to me? Write without judgment. Let it speak. You may be stunned by what has been waiting, unheard, just beneath the surface. Tool 2. Breathwork. Though Jung himself did not teach breathwork, he would likely recognize it as one of the most direct pathways into the unconscious through the body. Breathwork is the practice of using conscious, rhythmic breathing to bypass the thinking mind and access stored emotional energy. Our breath is unique, both autonomic and voluntary. It can become a portal. When you breathe with intention, especially in connected circular patterns, you signal to your nervous system, it is safe to let go. What often follows is the release of buried emotion, unresolved trauma, forgotten memories. Some cry, some laugh, some shake. Some find clarity they have never known. This is not merely emotional detox, it is psychological integration. You are clearing the very blocks your addiction sought to numb. Addiction numbs. Breathwork reveals. In a single session, you may realize what you were craving was not a substance, it was yourself. Tool 3. Symbolic ritual. As dialogue with the soul, Jung often said, the soul speaks in images. This is why symbols, dreams, and rituals hold such power. They speak past the intellect, directly to the unconscious. When we are lost in addiction, it is not only our habits that are misaligned, our inner world has been silenced. Ritual becomes a way to reopen that dialogue. Not empty ceremony, but conscious acts of connection. Here is one you can try. Find a quiet space. Light a candle. Fire has always symbolized purification. Sit before a mirror. Look into your own eyes, not to judge, but to witness. Say aloud, I know I have been trying to escape. I do not yet understand what, but I am here now, ready to listen. Write a letter to the part of you that is addicted, not to shame it, but to understand it. Fold the letter and place it beneath the candle. Let it burn for 15 minutes as you breathe and remain present. This is not about fixing. It is about reconnecting. You are letting your deeper self know you are not alone anymore. Now that we have examined the symptom, met the shadow, and begun the work of reconnection, it is time for the true alchemy. The transformation. Healing addiction is not merely breaking a habit. It is becoming someone new, or rather, becoming someone truer. It is about answering the call that addiction was trying to silence all along. This is the path Jung called individuation, the journey toward wholeness, not perfection, integration. Most believe healing means returning to who they were before the addiction. But Jung would say that version of you was already fractured, already suffering. The goal is not to go back. It is to go through and emerge as the person your addiction was pointing you toward, the one who no longer needs to escape. What does this look like in daily life? 1. Create a life that nourishes your soul, not only your schedule. Jung believed most neurosis arose from the life not lived. That includes the draining job, the numbing relationships, the routine that leaves your spirit dormant. Healing does not occur in a vacuum. It happens in an environment that reflects your truth. Ask yourself, what in my life feeds the addiction? What feeds my authenticity? Begin small. 1 honest choice per day. 1 creative act. 1 boundary honored. These are not merely disciplines, they are acts of soul. 2. Let meaning replace stimulation. Addiction thrives in a life overstimulated and underconnected. We scroll instead of speak, binge instead of reflect, consume instead of create. So instead of asking, how do I stop? Ask, what is this craving truly asking for? Replace the dopamine loop with meaning loops. Create art without judging it. Sit in silence and ask what you feel. Read what stirs you, not only what entertains you. Spend time with those who hold space. Not only make small talk. When your life becomes a place where your true self is welcome, addiction loosens its grip. 3. See relapse not as failure but as messenger. Jung was clear. Healing is not linear. The unconscious moves in spirals. It circles. It repeats patterns until they are fully integrated. If relapse occurs, it is not shameful. It is information. Your psyche saying, you missed something. Let us look again. You are not back at the beginning. You are on a deeper turn of the spiral. And this time, you have tools, awareness, language, compassion. The real miracle is when addiction becomes the reason you found yourself. When what once broke you becomes the doorway to your liberation. For that is what individuation is, not self-improvement, not recovery, but reclamation. the return of all your lost parts, the shadow, the child, the artist, the dreamer, woven into one coherent, radiant life. If you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. This is the beginning of your return.